Right now, there is an absolute shortage of great tabletop RPG systems to play. So I decided to fill that void with my very own stripped down, interactive, minimalistic, player-friendly, lightweight, and easygoing system. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Trosk, and today I want to talk about the simple system. Yes, I'm creating my very own RPG system, fantasy RPG system, and I know it looks really simplistic and bare bones at this point in time, but I know I just started working on it officially through my Patreon. You can join me on Patreon and help me. More information about that. I've been working on this and doodling and writing up stuff and thinking about this for a heck of a long time now, and I just decided to put pen to paper and actually start building this RPG. Now, the RPG itself is not meant to be taken too seriously. It fills a gap that I think is very important, and I'm building it. Actually, I'm building it for one person, and that is myself. But you might also like it and like its purpose. And it is really something that I think could be very important for newer players who do not know what tabletop RPGing is, and they want to know what tabletop RPGing is all about. Because the simple system, although there's more depth to it than meets the eye, the purpose of it is, and it says so right here, the simple system is an open-ended tabletop role-playing game designed for experienced GMs to introduce the hobby to inexperienced players. Perfect for casual scenarios like holiday gatherings, introducing a curious friend to the world of tabletop RPGs, etc., etc., etc. And as you can see, it is only a 3-page PDF at this point in time. Right now, right? But it is the simple system, and simple stands for stripped down, interactive, minimalistic, player-friendly, lightweight, and easygoing, and that is exactly what it is, because the first page is the character sheet. It all starts with the character sheet, and the entire point of this RPG is that any game master out there that is experienced with D20 systems, and tabletop RPGs in general, will know how this RPG works by looking at the character sheet. It says so right here. Any GM with some experience should be able to grasp the simple system at a glance just by reviewing the character sheet, and that is what it is all about. Although there is a page with some more explanation about some stuff, most of the stuff you should grasp by looking at this character sheet. But I want to go over kind of what I'm trying to do here and my the design philosophy for the simple system, because it's an open-ended system that you can use for any fantasy RPG that you want to play, but also it has more player agency and character customization to it than you might think, which I think I am onto something. This is like version 0.01 or something like that, but I am onto something, and I really want to like show this to you. And also, if you're interested in helping me out to creating more of this and making this PDF into like this full thing and with more artwork and better layout and all that stuff, I have a Patreon. You can join me. I will be asking questions, posting polls. I will having discussions. We'll be having discussions with you there to create this RPG. It's really important to me that this that I get that input from the community. So let's get over the character sheet, because that is also kind of the game, right? So as you can see, you have 2 stats, physical and mental. Yes, I know that doesn't barely scratch the surface of what a character is, but I decided to go for 2 because it is meant for people to, if they like this, they might start playing 5th edition or Tales of the Valiant or whatever other RPG they want to play. What with this, they get the idea of, okay, there's a physical stat which is 1d6 plus 2, and there's a mental stat which is 1d6 plus 2. Now, I'm still figuring out a number that you could divide among these 2. I want it to be less than the average of what you get from the d6 plus 2. So a player who decides to roll could get higher, could get lower, and a player who decides to spend points just goes for an average character, right? Hit points, easy, it's 10 plus your physical stat. AC, 10 plus your physical stat. Spellcasting AC is 10 plus your mental stat. If somebody hits you with a sword, it is your physical AC. If somebody hits you with a spell, it is your spell AC. I now see that this is not lined out with this. All of that is just like version 0.01, right? Now, there's basically 3 things. Now, I first want to talk about skills and flaws. At level 1, when you start the game, your players should take a skill, which they get a +1 on whatever that skill is, and a flaw. They get a -1 on whatever that skill is. The basic idea here is that if you take a super specific skill, for example, I don't know, swimming, you should also take a super specific flaw, like climbing. You get a +1 to swimming, you get a -1 to climbing, for example, right? This is always, and that is why I also want to design this RPG, is I want to go back to like that conversation between the GM and the player. Like, can I do this? And the GM will be like, yes, you can, but then you also need to do this, or yes, sure, or no, I'd rather you maybe do this, and you have this conversation and you create this own experience across the table. And that is what I really miss in a lot of modern tabletop RPGs. There's just a rule for every little thing. Now, if you would take a skill that is more vague and open-ended, like social encounters, you have +1 to social encounters, don't worry. Also take a vague and open-ended flaw. Something like, I don't know, lying. If you are, maybe you are really good at social encounters until you need to lie. When you lie, you get a -1, right? That is how the skills and the flaw system works. When you level up, as you can see here, well, you guys can probably not see that. Let me just like do this. If you level up, you can also take +1 to a skill or +2 to skills. But if you take +2 skills, you also need to take 1 flaw. Now, that said, +1 to a skill, let me just do this really quickly. +1 to a skill means that you can either take another plus to an existing skill or just take a new skill. So when you level up, you'll be like, you know what, I'm good at swimming. I also want to be good at rope skipping. I don't know, just saying something, rope skipping, +1 to rope skipping. But you can also be like, I want to be extremely good at swimming. I got a +2 at swimming instead of a +1. You can also have 2 pluses in skills, and then you need to just take a flaw when you level up. That's just how I design it right now. By the way, you can download this PDF right now. On my Patreon page. It's just free to download. It's the first post that I made, and I will be updating it, but then you need to become a member, and you can even like help decide what I update and how I update it. Like, I'm gonna create monster stat blocks. I'm gonna create like monster thingies where you can create your own monster from like a what is that word? I forgot the word. So you have armor, you have weapons, and you have spells or powers, whatever you want to call them, whatever it works for your world that you are playing in, right? I want to talk about armor first. There's light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. Light armor gives you 1 physical damage reduction. Medium armor gives you 2 physical damage reduction. Heavy armor gives you 3 physical damage reduction. Now, I still need to add something right here, and I want you to put in the comments below if you have an opinion on it. I either want to go for a minimum physical stat that you need to have in order to be able to wear this, like I have with the weapons, minimum 4 physical, minimum 6 physical, or I want light armor to have like no penalty, and then medium armor have like -1 to physical, and like swimming, stealth, climbing, and heavy armor at -2 to physical. So I either want to have a minimum physical thing that you need to have in order to be able to carry around this armor on your body, or I want a reduction of whatever physical thing you're trying to do. That's basically, I'm on the fence about that. I'm not really sure. So it's damage reduction for armor, and a shield gives you +1 AC. And for a shield, you need a minimum of 4 physical and I need to add to that 1 free hand, of course, to carry that shield. A weapon is a d20 system. You roll 1d12, 20 plus your physical in order to see if you hit the creature. If you hit the creature, you either roll with a light weapon, which is a d4 plus physical, but since it's a light weapon, you can do 2 attacks. Now, how you flavor this could be like 2 attacks with like 1 light weapon, or you dual wield. You flavor this as a character or as a GM, whatever and however you want. If your character has 2 light weapons, you're a dual wielder. If you only have 1 light weapon, you're just a 1 light weapon person who attacks twice, basically, right? Medium weapon is immediately jumps from a d4 to d8, which is much stronger, double, but it only gets 1 attack, right? So it kind of is the same in that sense, but it is one-handed, meaning that you can carry a shield around if you have a medium weapon. Now, most characters who carry light weapons will not have 4 physical. This might go to 6, this might go to 8. This is not like final at all. I need to balance this by playtesting. So the idea is that people who carry light weapons around aren't strong enough to carry a shield around, but people who carry medium weapons could carry a shield. So you have a shield and a sword and board, and you do a d8. If you have 6 physical, could jump to 8, still pondering on that. You could wield a heavy weapon, which is a 2-handed weapon, immediately jumps, skips a die, doesn't use the d10, uses a d12. Just more damage output, like shoo, shoo. But you need 6 physical in order to make that happen, but you cannot carry a shield. Then there's spells. Same idea, basically. Spells, 1d20 plus your mental stat is the attack you do to see if you hit against the armor class or the difficulty class. I'm working on monsters still. I have a very simple, pun intended, ID for monsters. It's gonna work really quickly for game masters to come up with monsters on the fly. Gonna have some examples on all that on my Patreon page again. At will spells, you have an amount of at will spells equal to your mental stat, and you can cast that amount of at-will spells per day. So if you have a mental stat of 6, you can cast 6 spells per day, at-will spells. And at-will spell does 1d4 damage plus your mental, plus a minor effect. And a minor effect is up to the GM and the player to come up with together. The player could say like, I want to try to do this. And the GM would be like, that's more of a major effect, but maybe you can do this instead. And I really like that because that really, really brings storytelling, a combined storytelling to the table for me. I like this about the cipher system, and I really like this in here. A daily spell, you get 1 daily spell per level. So if you're a level 3 character, you can do 3 daily spells. They do 1d6 plus your mental plus a major effect. Now the daily is going to get a minimum requirement in your mental stat in order to cast daily spells. Same with unique spells, by the way. I still need to add that in. A major effect, so your game master kind of decides what in your world that you're playing in is a major effect or a minor effect. For me personally, if I would be playing this, a minor effect would be knocking somebody back or whatever, and a major effect would be knocking somebody prone, right? But for some people, knocking somebody prone is a minor effect. And I don't know, stunning somebody is a major effect. That's up to the GM to decide and kind of work with the players in order to do. It's an open-ended system. You can make of it what you want, right? That is the basic idea I have right now. Now, as you can see, all of these armor, weapons, and spells also have a custom section, and the custom section basically is, for example, your GM is like, you find a bit of armor that is a heavy armor suit, but it only has 2 physical damage reduction, but if somebody hits you once per day, you can have that half of that damage reflected back to the person who like the source of the damage, right? That could be like a armor you find, right? It's just custom armor, and you can write that down right here. Same with a weapon. You could have a sword, which is a medium one-handed weapon that does a d8 physical, but on a critical hit, so you roll a 20 on your d20, you can make a spell attack, which is a d20 plus your mental. If that then also hits, you do a d4 extra damage plus your mental. So On crits, it does extra damage, potentially. That's something you could write down right here. And it's up to you as a game master or a player or whatever to come up with whatever you want. There's also unique spells. I'm still working on this. But my idea is to give people with a minimum stat of X mental one unique spell per level. But once you cast it, it's gone, and it gives you a huge effect. You could roll like a d8 plus mental plus you make them forget what they did the last day, something like that. You can also just like choose like, I don't want to do the damage, I just want the effect, but then the spell goes away basically. The way this is meant to be interpreted is for some game masters, they want you to have a set spell, like you can cast Fire Bolt, you can cast Freeze Bolt, you can cast Water Bolt, and you can cast Ice Bolt, whatever. But this is also meant for open-ended play, where the player is like, I want to cast an at-will spell, but I want a Fireball to come out of my hand. And you're like, okay, it's an at-will spell, d4 plus mental, fire damage, and a minor effect, right? So they might take another d6 damage the next turn. That might, or d4 damage the next turn, because it's fire damage, right? That kind of stuff where the wizard or the spellcaster kind of decides what the spell needs to be in a particular situation. Inviting, again, combined storytelling, especially for players who don't want to like abide to like a really specific set of rules and learn spells out of their head, like have a spell book with all kinds of spells they can do and need to read all those descriptions. People just sometimes want to sit down and play a freaking tabletop RPG, or they come up to your friends of yours, they're like, hey man, that tabletop RPG stuff you do, what is this all about? And you're like, sit down, here's a character sheet. What's your name? What's your character name? And what is he all about? Okay, and you start rolling your character and you start doing that. Yeah, and that is basically it. Like, let me make myself a little bit smaller here again. When you level up at a milestone, certain point in time, your GM's like, you level up, you can choose either to gain 2 hit points, right here, +1 to any stat. So either your physical or your mental stat. Physical gives you more AC, gives you more hit points and better weapon damage and chances to hit. Mental gives you better spell AC, better spell damage, and more spells per day, basically, right? At will spells, at least. And or you can take 1 skill or +1 to a skill, or you can take 2 skills or twice +1 to a skill and the flaw. That's basically what I'm at right now. And for people who want to read more about, let me just make myself a little bit bigger. For people who want to read more about, there is a page here where I go a little bit deeper into what I mean about all of this and how I want it to go. This is only page 3, and I really like just this RPG. It's like the simple system. This is also like a work in progress. It's just me slapping some artwork by the great Dean Spencer on there, and then just opening up with the character sheet. I like that. Just opens up with the character sheet. This is the RPG. All of the other stuff is just explanation about what I mean with this, basically. Yes, there's going to probably also be a reversed side to this character sheet with like a longer skill table, a longer flaw table, a backpack kind of thing, that kind of stuff, an optional thing, basically, if you want to go deeper, if you want to have longer adventures where it really matters how much coin and how much gear and how much everything you have, and you're not just like playing one evening because your family is coming over for the holidays or something like that. And that is the simple system. Now, it's only 3 pages, but I want to keep working on it and expanding on it. And I can only do that with your help via my Patreon page in the link in the description below. When you join that, you can have your voice heard, because I will be asking questions. I will be posting polls. I will be doing all of that stuff in order to find out how to build this RPG the best. I want to have monster templates. I want to have NPCs templates. I want to have custom weapons, custom spells, custom armor. I want to design I want to have like examples of flaws versus skills, all of that stuff, and even create some pre-made characters, because why the heck not? And until next video, bye bye.